Imagine this. You're lost in the wild, disoriented and desperate. The sun beats down relentlessly and your throat is parched. Your canteen is empty, a cruel reminder of your dwindling hope. Each step becomes a monumental effort, and the landscape blurs at the edges of your vision. Dehydration is setting in, and panic begins to gnaw at the edges of your resolve. In this dire situation, could a towering pine tree, a silent sentinel of the forest, actually save your life? Is there a hidden reservoir of life-sustaining liquid locked within its woody embrace? The legend of pine tree water, a tale passed down through generations of survivalists and outdoor enthusiasts, has fascinated and intrigued many. It's a story that speaks to our primal need for water and our enduring hope for rescue in the face of adversity. The core idea is simple, almost deceptively so. Tap a tree, specifically a pine tree, using a knife or other sharp tool, and from this seemingly impossible source, obtain a life-saving drink of water, a natural oasis in a wooden vessel. It's a story of hope and ingenuity, a testament to human resourcefulness in the face of nature's challenges, whispered around crackling campfires under starry skies and carefully preserved in the yellowed pages of old survival manuals. It's a romantic notion, the idea of nature providing for us in our time of greatest need. The myth suggests that even in a parched and seemingly lifeless forest, where the ground is cracked and the air shimmers with heat, a hidden source of water hides just beneath the rough, protective bark of the pine tree, patiently waiting for those clever enough, resourceful enough, and desperate enough to find it. But what exactly is this mysterious liquid that the legend speaks of? Is it pure, refreshing water or something else entirely? It's not pine needle tea brewed from the tree's fragrant needles, but actual, potable water. Or so the story goes. This water is supposedly drawn directly from the tree's intricate internal system, a network of pathways that carries life-sustaining fluids throughout its massive structure. The underlying theory is that trees, with their extensive root systems, constantly pull water from the ground, filtering it through layers of soil and rock. This water is then transported upwards, through the tree's veins, the xylem and phloem, to nourish its leaves and branches. The idea is that if you carefully tap into this internal plumbing, you might be able to access a hidden, naturally filtered supply of water, a precious resource in a survival situation. It's a compelling and romantic idea, the notion of nature providing a secret lifeline, a hidden reservoir of hope, precisely when all else seems to have failed. In any survival scenario, dehydration is a swift and merciless enemy, capable of turning a challenging situation into a deadly one in a matter of hours. Therefore, the promise of pine tree water is more than just the promise of hydration. It's the promise of one more day, one more chance to find your way back to safety, one more opportunity to be rescued. But is this hope grounded in scientific reality and practical application, or is it simply a comforting myth, a survivalist's fairy tale that offers solace but little substance? Let's dig into the evidence, separate fact from fiction, and uncover the truth behind the legend of pine tree water. Is it a viable survival technique or a potentially dangerous misconception? First, let's clear up any misconceptions and define exactly what pine tree water is, and perhaps more importantly, what it isn't. We need to separate fact from fiction before we delve deeper into this fascinating topic. It's definitely not the sticky resin that you find oozing from the bark. That's a completely different substance with its own properties and uses. And absolutely not sap. Never, ever drink that. Tree sap, while natural, contains compounds that can be harmful if ingested. It's best to admire it from afar. The real target, the elusive prize we're after, is xylem sap. Xylem sap is essentially a thin, watery fluid. Think of it as the lifeblood of the tree in a way. It's constantly moving inside the tree's woody tissue, coursing through a network of microscopic channels. This is how the tree transports water and nutrients from the roots to the leaves. It's mostly water, of course, but it also contains trace minerals that the tree has absorbed from the soil. These minerals are what give it a slightly different composition than regular water. The legend, perpetuated by survival guides and folklore, claims you can tap directly into this xylem system. The idea is to bypass surface water sources altogether, and supposedly drink naturally filtered water, straight from the tree's internal plumbing. The promise is pure, clean hydration. The appeal is that it should be safe from surface contaminants, bacteria, and other nasties that can make you sick. A natural filtration system built right into the tree. In theory, it's a survivalist's dream, a readily available source of potable water in the wilderness. Imagine the possibilities. Clean water, no boiling required, no need for purification tablets or complicated filtration systems, just pure, refreshing hydration straight from the source. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. This is where the romanticized idea clashes with reality. The water isn't just sitting there waiting to be tapped, ready to pour out like some kind of natural water fountain. It's locked inside microscopic tubes held under significant tension due to the physics of water transport in plants. Getting it out, extracting even a small amount, is surprisingly tough and requires patience and the right technique. The amount you can realistically collect is often tiny, a few drops at a time. It's hardly enough to quench a serious thirst, and the yield depends heavily on the specific type of tree, the time of year, the weather conditions, and the particular technique you employ. The romantic image of a gushing stream of pure water flowing from a pine tree is, unfortunately, pure fantasy, a product of wishful thinking. At best, under ideal circumstances, you might get a slow, almost imperceptible drip, a tiny trickle that barely wets your finger. If you're incredibly lucky and persistent, don't expect to fill your water bottle in a matter of minutes. The reality of extracting pine tree water is far less dramatic and far less rewarding than the romanticized myth would have you believe. So, given all these challenges, why does this persistent idea of easily accessible pine tree water continue to capture our imaginations? What's the source of this enduring myth? Indigenous peoples have long used trees for food and medicine, think maple syrup and birch water. But tapping pines for water? That's not a well-documented tradition. The idea likely grew from the success of tapping maples and birches, then morphed into survival lore. Manuals and guides picked up the myth, passing it along as a clever trick. But while birch and maple sap are proven resources, pine tree water is mostly anecdotal. The legend has grown with each retelling, often blurring the line between fact and wishful thinking. Knowing this history helps us separate practical skills from dangerous myths. Before you try anything, before you even consider utilizing pine needles for any purpose, whether it's for tea, shelter, or even fire starting, there's a crucial first step. You must be absolutely certain you're dealing with a true pine tree. Positive identification is paramount. Don't rush this process. Take your time and observe carefully. Many conifers look remarkably similar to the untrained eye. The forest is full of green, and it's easy to mistake one evergreen for another. But some are toxic. Misidentification can be deadly. Ingesting the wrong needles or using them improperly could lead to serious health consequences. We're talking about potential poisoning, allergic reactions, or other adverse effects. So, how do you tell a pine tree from its potentially harmful counterparts? Pines have needles that grow in bundles, also known as fascicles. These bundles contain a specific number of needles. You'll find them in bundles of 2, 3, or 5. This is a key characteristic, and these bundles are bound together at the base by a small sheath. Look closely, you should see it. No bundles, not a pine. If the needles grow individually from the branch, it's definitely not a pine tree, and you should proceed with extreme caution. Another helpful identifier is the pine cone. Pine cones are typically woody and rigid to the touch. They have a solid, substantial feel. This is unlike the upright, fragile cones of firs. Fir cones often stand erect on the branches and tend to disintegrate easily, or the flexible cones of spruces, which hang downwards from the branches and have a more papery texture. To further enhance your identification skills, learn your local pines, eastern white, ponderosa, loblolly. Familiarize yourself with their specific characteristics. Knowing the common pine species in your area will significantly reduce the risk of mistakes. Consult field guides and online resources to compare and contrast different species. Always be aware of potential lookalikes and beware of lookalikes like the yew tree, which is highly poisonous. The yew is a common ornamental tree, and its needles and berries are extremely toxic if ingested. Yews have flat, single needles, meaning they don't grow in bundles, and they produce distinctive red berries. Yews do not have cones, instead they have those fleshy red berries. Remember, not bundles or cones. It's also important to note that some cypress and juniper species are also toxic. So, broaden your knowledge beyond just pine trees and yews. When in doubt, the needle bundle rule is your best defense. Always look for those distinct bundles of needles. If you're not 100% sure, if there's even a sliver of doubt in your mind, don't risk it. It's better to err on the side of caution. Remember, in a survival situation, caution is your best friend. It's what will keep you safe and healthy. Correct identification is not just a suggestion, it's the first and most critical step to ensuring your safety and well-being in the wilderness. If you found a true pine and you're desperate, here's how the extraction myth goes. The most common method, tap a large exposed root near the base. Shave off the bark, cut a V-shaped notch, and hope for drips. You can try tapping the trunk like a maple by drilling a small hole and inserting a spout. Place a container underneath and wait, but manage your expectations. The flow is painfully slow, often just a few drops per hour. You may need to set up multiple taps and wait all day for a few ounces. The energy spent may outweigh the hydration gained. This is a last resort method, not a go-to survival trick. Use it only when all other water sources are gone. The main benefit of pine tree water is simple hydration. In a crisis, even a few sips can keep you going. The xylem sap may contain trace minerals, potassium, calcium, magnesium, but in tiny amounts. These electrolytes help your body function, but don't expect a natural sports drink. Some claim it contains vitamin C or other nutrients, but evidence is thin. The real value is its potential purity, not nutrition. Think of it as emergency water, not a health tonic. In survival, every drop counts, but don't count on it for sustenance. The risks are real. Misidentifying a tree can be fatal. Yew and some junipers are deadly. Even true pines can draw up contaminated groundwater, especially near polluted sites. The tree's filter isn't perfect. Heavy metals and chemicals can end up in the sap. Injuring yourself while cutting roots or trunks is another danger. An infected wound in the wild can be deadly. You're also harming the tree, which may not survive large wounds. Mistaking sticky resin for water is a common error. Never drink resin. It can cause severe digestive issues. The liquid you want is clear and watery, not sticky or colored. When dehydrated and desperate, mistakes are easy to make. The risks often outweigh the tiny reward. In survival, smart choices matter more than clever tricks. Always weigh the dangers before you act. Science tells a sobering story. Yes, trees have water in their xylem, but it's held under tension, not free-flowing. When you cut into a pine, air usually rushes in, breaking the system, so water rarely drips out. Maples and birches can be tapped in spring because they build up root pressure, pines don't. That's why you get a slow, unreliable drip at best. The tales of gallons of water from a pine are pure exaggeration. You might collect a few ounces after hours of effort. The energy and time spent are rarely worth the result. Science says, look elsewhere for water. Dew, seeps, or solar stills are better bets. The myth is rooted in truth, but fails in practice. Survival is about efficiency, not wishful thinking. So, is pine tree water a survival fact or forest fiction? The answer, it's technically possible but practically useless. The water is there, but it's not reliable, plentiful, or easy to access. At best, it's a last-ditch effort when all else fails. The taste? Subtle, faintly woody, but the problem is quantity, not flavor. Your time is better spent on proven methods, tracking animals, collecting dew, or digging for water. Pine tree water is a romantic myth, not a real solution. In the wild, knowledge and clear thinking, not legends, will keep you alive.